Welcome everyone to what we call the Weisenberg Perspective. And it's always my pleasure to interview Harvey Weisenberg. And today's a special show because we have a teen band from Oceanside. And I told Harvey before the show we're going to talk about politics and running a campaign, but I think I'm going to switch up a little, Harvey. Because we have a teen band who's here today, and from the excellent school of Oceanside High School. I know their football coach, Rob Blount, great guy, great coach. And our teen band should know one thing about Harvey, is that many years ago there was a tragedy at a high school. Guys, listen to this. There was a tragedy at a lacrosse game. There was a goalie, Suffolk County. He was a freshman. His name was Louis Acampora. During the game, Louis was the goalie, and the ball hit him in the chest, and he died, like instantly, from that horrible tragedy at the lacrosse game. My friend Harvey Weisenberg took it upon himself to make a law that a defibrillator should be at all sporting events. And because of Harvey, that became a law. And I think because of your action, I think you probably have saved hundreds of people over the years. Talk about that whole thing and about how proud you are really of making that a law that the defibrillator is at all high school events, because it really has saved a lot of lives.
Well, it was a tragedy being an athlete myself at school and a coach, that you don't want to have tragedies like this to exist. But nobody really realized, because you have a doctor at football games and other athletic events. But what happened was that Louis Acampora, 14 years old, was hit in the chest and stopped breathing. He had a ventricular fibrillation, which means CPR, and nothing would save him except getting his body and his heart back into a rhythm. And the answer really is, this poor young man died. When I saw what took place, I called the family, Louis Acampora, his folks, and we became very close. And I said, the only thing that I'm going to tell you from my own life experience is that as a coach and a ball player myself, that this is never going to happen again. Because I'm going to make sure that a defibrillator will be at every school and any kind of athletic event. Not only for the ball players, but for grandparents and people who are sitting in the stands and coaches and employees. So we passed a law, and it was the first one in the country. As a matter of fact, I shared this with you. My wife Ellen and I, we were in Washington, we were honored. The American Heart Association honored us, because of the hundreds of lives have been saved. And then my wife and I were invited to a survivor's dinner, which is quite an emotional experience when you're sitting at a table with people who were pronounced dead and are alive today, because we had defibrillators there. And I just want you to understand that there is no better gift in this world than the feeling that you helped or saved somebody else's life or prevented a death from happening. But it was a survivor's dinner, and it was very emotional. But not only did we have it in schools, because it ended up in athletic workout places, gyms, wherever, any buildings or offices with over 1,000 people. So it went all over the place. On planes and transportation vehicles have defibrillators. So we did something that was really a gift from God, to be able to make families and other people aware that it takes, you can't make a mistake with a defibrillator. It speaks to you. We have all volunteer fire services and anybody else who would be happy to teach anybody who is going to be in an environment where they're going to have people and they could have a defibrillator there and it costs nothing. So that was one of the best things that we did in government. But this, you learn from life experience how you can be an asset to add and to prevent things. I mean, I had other bills from a kid from Hewitt who died in a car from a school event. They didn't have seatbelts in the back of a vehicle that was used to transport students. and a young man from Hewlett died. The family called me and we changed the law. We now have any vehicle that's going to transport youngsters in school vehicles has to have seatbelts. I mean, there are a lot of things that we have done to make people aware how that we can prevent tragedies from taking place.
And I think another thing you did, and I think it's very big, with teens, but with adults as well, is texting and driving. Many people have been killed in horrible car accidents from people that are texting and driving. And I know you stepped forward in that case as well.
Yeah, I passed over 337 bills in 25 years that I've been up in Albany, which a lot of legislation. You don't pass bills without any kind of controversy. As a matter of fact, it was very interesting. I shared this with young people who were listening, that on the assembly chamber floor, that when I did the defibrillator bill, you'll have to debate your legislation. So I thought, well, this is just common sense. We put the bill out and say we should have them in school. And of course, somebody from Rochester, who was a former prosecutor, spoke on the bill and challenged my legislation. And he said, this is an unfunded mandate. We don't need this. Why do I have to have schools spending money for this kind of a material? And the debate, a lot of people who are attorneys, they like to speak a lot and say things, but I was very quick in saying to him, would you yield? That means, will you listen to what I have to say? And I said very simply, how much is a child's life worth? That was the end of the debate. That's how you get things done. But I just feel that people have to understand, because I'm being led into politics and running for office, but I want people to really understand that this is called public service. And what does public service mean? Public service means that you're put there to do the best that you can do for people. It's not for political parties and power and money. That seems to be the goal of people who are running for office these days at every level of government. Nobody cares about people anymore, and it's kind of scary in our society today that the values have changed so greatly for people that seek public office. And political parties, you're not really running to be told how to do what you have to do by some political leader. You go there, and it's your conscience and the things that you should believe in or want to do that would be beneficial to the people that elected you. And that's a diversity of people, all people, young, old, poor, wealthy. The fact is, we have social needs, quality of life, dignity, and respect for all people. And that's what should be coming out of government, not talking and saying all about the negative. When people run for office today, you see the political ads that are out in the newspapers, the thousands and thousands of dollars on materials that are sent out, telling how bad the person you're running or is running against you or you're running against, how bad they are in every aspect of their life. This is absolutely crazy. I'm an elected person for 38 years. I never knocked anybody who ran against me. I always worked together, and if you have nothing nice to say, you learn this from your parents, I hope, or in school. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. And the answer really is, this is kind of horrible, because all you see is negative things about people that are seeking office, and then you're going to say, why the hell am I going to vote? They're all no good. And that's kind of scary, because a third of the people that should vote don't vote. And what do you get? And then I always used to say to people, if you don't vote, you deserve what you got. So it's your problem, not mine. But the answer and my message, especially the fact that young people are here with us today, the message really is that you seek somebody who seeks office to do what's right, and that's to be able to help a diversity of people, because this world is very diverse, and people have to sort of give love and care and dignity and respect to everybody. The most discriminated population in our society, in this country and all over the world, I would say, are people with disabilities. Nobody understands that. But until you find a situation where you have somebody in your family, then you get to realize dignity and respect for everybody. And that's every public official's prominent, most important aspect of their position.
Well said. Let's give it up for Harvey Weisenberg.